Hello, good afternoon, how are you? I'm Jenny Marshall, I'm the social media manager for the F1 games, and with me today is Gav Cooper, Chief Games Designer for F1 2019. Hopefully some of you have already been playing F1 2019 with the Legends Edition. We're here to show you a bit of the things that we haven't shown you already before, give you a bit of a guide to some things, tell you a bit how some bits work. So what we're going to do first is, in the features trailer you'd have seen the NEEEUM car from the Chemical Brothers We've Got to Try, and Gav today is going to show you a bit and show you how to get it.
Sure. So the NEEEUM car, like all the car liveries, is found in the customization area of the game. If we go in here, all of these liveries can be purchased with competition points, and the NEEEUM car is no different, though it is one of the more expensive ones in terms of competition points.
So look at it, it looks amazing.
It's really good. If you can zoom in, you can sort of see quite a lot of the sort of like the little details, all sort of faithfully recreated from the music video. It's a nice little sort of Easter eggs to have in the game.
Yeah. Well, we haven't shown it off apart from the features trailer, so we thought we'd at least give you show it you and tell you how you can get it. So competition points. Yeah.
So competition points. If I sort of back out of here, competition points you can get from a bunch of different places in the game. The primary source of your competition points is going to be the weekly events, which we'll talk about in a minute. The other places you can get competition points from are you get a bonus each week via the in-game mail system for your safety rating. So the better the safety rating you've got, the better the bonus you'll get, and that's just another way of kind of encouraging people to kind of care about their safety rating and care about the way they're driving when they go online. The other place that you can get them from is ranked play itself. We've introduced the concept of ranked objectives. So each week there are a number of objectives that you can get while you're playing in the ranked lobbies, and then those refresh every week, and that's just giving you another way to sort of rack them up in addition to the weekly events. But yeah, the primary source is the weekly events. The way weekly events work, so there have been events in previous F1 games, and they've all been sort of like the same kind of format that people will be familiar with. So there's a scenario, you've got to try and get the best possible score within that scenario. You can play it over and over again to try and perfect your performance. We still have those kinds of events in the game, but we're adding to them. So in addition to those, which we're terming featured events, we've also got Grand Prix events and classic Grand Prix events. And each week we'll pick one of those three types to be that week's.
So they'll kind of rotate a bit from, so you'll have a weekly event, a featured event, and a classic event, kind of rotating on a however many weekly basis.
Typically what you'll see is that we'll try and do the Grand Prix events so that they line up with the real world Grand Prix. So if it's Silverstone weekend, that week you'll be playing a Silverstone Grand Prix event. And then the weeks in between will be a mixture of classic Grand Prix and featured events.
So you heard it here first, Silverstone Grand Prix, make sure you book out that weekend.
So, if we go into the weekly event itself, the structure of the weekly event is of the Grand Prix weekly event is quite different to the featured events. So the featured events, as we said, very much based around perfecting your performance, whereas a Grand Prix event, it kind of fits better the philosophy of the sport itself. It's not can you be perfect on your 128th try. It's can you deliver on the day? Can you perform when it really counts? Essentially, the structure of the event is split out over the week. So Monday to Friday, you've got your practice and qualifying phase.
Yep.
So within that time, you've got a number of practice sessions, and you can go into those. You can do practice programs in order to earn competition points. So that's a good source of competition points. Even if you don't want to do the rest of that week's weekly event,
you can get a good source of competition points from there.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you do that as many times as you want? So do you have a...
You've got a limited number of practice programs each week and a limited number of sessions in which to try and get the best performance in those. But then once you've decided, when you've moved on, when you've run out of practice sessions, or if you choose not to do the practice programs, at that point you move on to qualifying. And as you'd expect with qualifying, the goal is to set the best possible qualifying you can, the best possible time you can on that week's track. The thing with qualifying is you can't just try it over and over again. Your first attempt will always be the attempt with the most potential in terms of sort of getting the time. Your second attempt, you can have a second attempt, but you'll incur a slight penalty. It's only a slight one, so if the real world intrudes, for some reason you're having your qualifying attempts and you're kids wake up or something like that, you're not going to lose a massive amount by having a second attempt, but that penalty ramps up with each subsequent attempt. So you can't keep going over and over and over and again to try and get a really good performance. You have to be able to perform when it counts. So after that, once you've set your qualifying time, you're done until the race weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we transition to a different structure. Over the race weekend, what we have is we have a number of scheduled races, and these are sort of synchronous match-made races with other people around the world, and they'll occur at sort of specific times. So for example, we'll have races at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, all the way through the afternoon and evening on both days. And what happens is when you go into one of those, you'll go into a holding page while the counter ticks down, and then on the hour, everybody who's in matchmaking at that point, they'll all be sorted into lobbies, matched together based on sort of skill rating, safety rating, and you'll go and you'll have a race with them. And at the end of that race, you'll get a nice big chunk of points. And those points are based on a bunch of different factors. They're based on what was your finishing position, what was your overall race time, what was your qualifying time, what assists did you use. All of these things kind of feed in to give it to a score that's got a lot of granularity. So it gives you can sort of you've got enough granularity to kind of spread people out throughout a global leaderboard.
Yeah, and it's based on very individual kind of facets, so what kind of assists you run, what times you run in qualifying, all that stuff, so you can really get this is where I am. Yeah,
very much so. Now you can have multiple attempts because there's a limited number of race slots over the weekend. We do let you sort of you can enter as many of those as you like, but similarly to qualifying, it's not just a case if you have a second attempt, it doesn't take your best score. You're not getting the chance to kind of have lots and lots of attempts and then just take your best one. It will erase your previous score when you go in again. So if you go in for a second attempt, you've got to be confident that you're going to come out with a better score.
Yeah, and can you keep doing that, or will it?
You can keep doing that throughout the race weekend, but obviously there's a finite number of slots.
Yes.
And every one that you consume, that's one less to get the best possible performance. So at the end of that race weekend, we'll have a global leaderboard with everyone sorted into it, and as you can see from here, different bands of that leaderboard will get different prizes in terms of the trophies that they get awarded, which can go into their super license and be shown off, and the amount of competition points that they'll get, and those will be delivered via a mail, which you can kind of pick up from your mailbox, and then those can go towards your next livery, helmet, badge, gloves, all that stuff.
Anything that your heart's desired in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I've just noticed there the trophies as they're going past, they are slightly different. So I'm assuming they vary for different kind of bands, whether they're in 60% or the top 5%, whatever.
Yep.
If you look at scrolling through now, and that looks a very nice trophy. Look at that. Could you show us more about trophies? Yeah,
so there are a bunch of different types of trophies in the game. So as you say, there's trophies for different bands. There's also trophies for different types of events. So there's different trophies for Grand Prix events versus classic events versus featured events versus esports qualifying events. There's even trophies for if you actually get through qualifying into the esports races, you can get trophies for those, which obviously going to be very, very, not many people are going to have them, but when they have them, they're going to want to show them off in their super license. You can also get trophies for a bunch of single player stuff as well. So you can have trophies you get a trophy every time you come first in a career Grand Prix for the first time on a given track. You can, excuse me. You can also get trophies for completing different amounts of championships within the championships mode. You can get a trophy for completing the F2 championship and also for becoming F1 champion in career mode. So there's lots of sort of single player places that you can get trophies from as well.
So it's not just multiplayer; you can kind of move them around, and you can gain it from single player and multiplayer. And I'm assuming you could kind of display them all in one place. And have a really nice looking super license. Yeah, so if you go to the super license, you can go to the trophy cabinet. So I've only got one trophy at the moment, but this is basically your interface. You've got 6 slots in which you can kind of show off your favourite trophies. You can go in here, and as you can see, I've got this. This is the one I got earlier just for playing the career and winning the Australian Grand Prix. So you can get them from solo events. This is where you have all the weekly events. Leagues as well. You can also get league medals for sort of completing league championship seasons and all the esports stuff as well. Great stuff. So looking at that, that looks a really, really nice trophy. And a great one. So I'm assuming that if you can display your league trophies there if you wanted. You can display a combination of single player and
yeah, it's whatever has the most meaning to you, really. I mean, some people are going to sort of be very much based around sort of the single player stuff, so they're going to want to show, when they finally become F1 champion, that's the trophy they're going to want to show off in pride and place. But other people are going to be motivated by different things. For quite a while, I just had a league medal on there because it was a particularly hard fought league that we played within sort of the design team, and I was quite proud of the fact that I didn't win. I didn't win, but the medal that I did get, I was still quite proud of. It's what has meaning to you, basically.
So we are playing on PC. So one of the things we have talked about but not actually shown is Customisable Hud.
Yeah.
So could we go in and have a look and show a little bit about how to customise your HUD?
Sure. So, I mean, might as well just go into a practice. So when you go into a practice, first thing that you can do is sort of set your assist level and race settings, all of which kind of contribute to the score that you'll get at the end.
So it's just loading now, but we'll be able to, whilst we're on the subject of customisable HUD, we've had a lot of questions about whether it was coming to consoles.
Yeah.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, could you tell us a little bit about customisable HUD possibly?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the reason why it's on PC is it was originally developed essentially as it was something that had a lot of value on PC, because on PC you've got a much broader spectrum of people who are using sort of like multi-monitor setups, much more so than on console. And the benefits of sort of having a customizable HUD when you're using multi-monitor, you can it's much easier to kind of manage where all the various HUD elements go. So that's why it had sort of like a lot of value for PC. So that's why we've developed it on PC first. That said, as we've kind of developed it, we've seen there's already a lot of interest from people on console. And we will be looking at kind of like the feedback from the player base in general to kind of decide how best to kind of sorry. We will be using that to sort of to figure out sort of like how best to sort of direct future development efforts.
And kind of what how to bring it across if possible.
Yes, So how to bring it across, and also how to improve it as well. We've got a lot of ideas for sort of how we want to sort of expand upon the sort of customizable HUD and build on the opportunities it now provides us.
So I can see here that you've already you've gone into a session and you've hit the pause menu. Is this how you? Yeah.
So you have to go into a session in order to access it. The reason for that is obviously there's a lot of flexibility in terms of camera settings, which camera you use, and you can actually sort of offset the camera quite a lot in sort of different ways. So we make you kind of do the HUD customization stuff over your actual in-game view, so that you can make sure that you're not laying stuff over the wing mirrors, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you pause the game, go to preferences, go to on-screen display. There's already a bunch of options in here that people may or may not be familiar with that let you change sort of certain facets of how the OSD works. So you can change the type of units that you're using. You can change the way the minimap works, whether it's like a map or whether it's a small part of the map, the next corner and stuff, or whether it's the full map. You can decide whether or not the map rotates, as well as sort of various other sort of elements. But the big bit that we're interested in is the OSD customization, and if you select that, you get into the interface for actually managing.
Now this looks like a screen I've never seen before.
Yes, so this is basically how we move, how we basically edit the entire HUD. It's all broken into elements, so you can see the sort of as I'm using the shoulder buttons, you can see I'm cycling through all the different sort of elements on the screen, and basically whichever element I'm currently using, I can basically then start moving it around. I can put this wherever I want. As you can see, sort of like other elements that it's overlapping start getting sort of surrounded in red. So you can see that that's not a valid place to put it. You have to kind of find a valid place to put it before you can actually sort of place it and move on to sort of do something else. But let's say I'm going to stick this sort of all the way down here. I'm using the analog stick to kind of move it around quite smoothly, but if I use the D-pad, I can kind of align it to sort of a snap grid.
how does this work on keyboard using a keyboard and mouse? Does this work using a keyboard and mouse as well?
It does not work using keyboard and mouse. No, I mean, you can use the sort of like the keyboard inputs, that are analogous to the joypad buttons. So you can do it on keyboard, but you can't sort of drag things around with the mouse, basically. So each element can be moved around. You can also select an element, and you can do things like you can choose to hide it entirely. You can, if I put that back, you can change the opacity of it. So let's leave that one as full, and then the other one is you can scale it. So let's make this, it doesn't need to be that big, we can make that a bit smaller. So let's do that, and then I'll stick this, here we go, in the middle.
There we go.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
And there we go. So that's now
there.
Tucked out of the way a little bit. You can do, let's take the track map. We're going to stick this one right in the middle. We're going to, actually let's put that one back. Let's get rid of the wrong way indicator first. Let's stick that sort of somewhere down here. We'll make this a bit smaller too. There we go. I'll stick this down here. So now I can go back to my track map.
So where are you going to put your track map?
Slap bang in the middle. This is what I need. This is what I need in order to be able to drive. So yeah, we'll slap the opacity right down so that it's quite dimmed out, and we'll make it nice and big. There we go.
There we go. Look at that.
We'll confirm the changes.
Yep.
And
so
now,
you can change any of the modules and where they are separately, and so long as they don't.
So long as they don't overlap, yeah. So if I sort of just we'll just quickly sort of go into the session. So now you can see.
There you go. Look at that.
I'm kind of focusing more on the OSD than my driving, but you can see that's.
Nice. There we go.
If that's your thing, then that's what you can do.
Yeah.
So if I go back to the OSD for a second, so yeah, so what we're talking about, you can sort of see different layouts. So there's a layout for what it looks like in practice. You can see all sort of the practice elements at the top there. You've got a layout for the pits, and you've got a layout for racing. And the reason for that is that some things only appear in certain modes, so this gives you the flexibility where you can put two things on top of one another, provided they never appear at the same time. So for example, you can see that the practice element and the pit timer both exist in the same space because they're never on screen at the same time. And so that's basically how that works.
Fantastic stuff. I think we will leave it there for now. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll have you back very soon. Thank you for joining us, and I hope for those of you who have F1 2019 that you are enjoying it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.